Students, all of you must have learnt about assessment of nutritional status in the community in your undergraduate programs. Diet surveys for nutritional assessment is an interesting topic. As you are aware, a complete nutritional assessment comprises different methods such as number 1, anthropometric measurements, number 2, biochemical tests, number 3, clinical examination, number 4, diet surveys, number 5, functional assessment, and number 6, vital health parameters. And now in this module, we will look about diet surveys, one of the nutritional assessment tools. Now let us look into the definition of diet surveys. Diet surveys are defined as systematic collections of factual data pertaining to the diet of human population within a given geographic area. Diet survey is nothing but the scientific assessment of pattern of food intake followed by the estimation of nutrient intake and finally utilization of the obtained data for the benefit of masses. The dietary habits of a person have been acknowledged as one of the most important determinants of different diseases or any unfavorable outcomes among the population. Considering the importance of diet in the development of many diseases, assessment of nutritional status of an individual, household, or community carries a lot of significance. Let us now see why do we have to take up diet surveys. The reasons are to understand and improve the diet pattern of individuals, households, and the community. And also, in particular, to improve the diets of the vulnerable groups comprising young children, pregnant and lactating mothers. For also planning national food strategies, and especially in times of food crisis. To assess the effect of nutrition education programs on diet pattern and to be used for research purposes later. Periodic diet surveys done at time intervals provide information on trends of food consumption among population, and also these diet surveys will help to know the special preference for a food and foods avoided or disliked and alternate foods consumed during special conditions like droughts and also in special areas like tribal people. Various methods are available to undertake this diet survey in different settings, and this is compiled as quantitative methods and qualitative methods. Now, let us learn about quantitative methods first. Quantitative methods will help to analyze the average consumption of foods and nutrients by socio-economic and demographic groups, frequency of consumption of specific foods or food groups, adequacy of diet for different population groups, and diet-disease relationships. Now, let us know about the various quantitative methods. 24-hour food recall, multiple pass food recall, food frequency questionnaire, weighed food records, estimated food records, dietary history, household food survey. Let us now look each of these in detail. 24-hour food recall. Can you guess what is this? Yes. In this, the respondents are requested to remember in detail and recall all the food and drink they consumed during a period of time in the recent past, usually the previous day. It takes to account on an accurate memory of intake, reliability of the respondent, not to misreport, and an ability to estimate the portion size too. This may be helped by the interviewer prompting the respondent to remember the eating and drinking episodes by time periods. For example, what was consumed early in the morning and relating to daytime activities such as what was taken after arriving from work. The interviewer may help the respondent to estimate the portion sizes of the items consumed in terms of numbers, cups and katori sizes. Thus, the food intake is recorded from the 24-hour food recall. Some of the potential prompts to prompt the data collection would be: when did you wake up? What time? What was the first thing you ate and or drank? And from this we can collect the breakfast information. Did you have a morning snack or morning coffee? So this will prompt to collect information on snacks if they have consumed in the break. What did you have for lunch? Anything to drink with that? Afternoon snack or food when you came home from school or work will prompt the interviewer to collect data on food consumed in the evening. And what did you have for supper? Did you have any dessert along with that? Will help in data collection for the dinner. Snack in the evening before you went to bed will prompt the data collection. Did you have any multivitamin tablets, any herbal supplements, iron pills, etc. at what time of the day? Will help to collect extra information on these consumption. Do you drink water throughout the day? How many glasses? This will help us to collect information on the total water intake by the subjects. The merits of 24-hour food recall. This is easy to recall, time saving and suitable for large scale surveys. This method can be administered over other communication media such as over telephone, mails and so on. Also, we have some demerits for this method. These will include the possibilities of under or overestimation of portion sizes by the respondent. Single observation provides poor measure of individual intake. And there are also possibilities of bias in recording the foods by the interviewer himself. It is memory dependent. The next quantitative method is multiple pass food recall method. An extended and more accurate version of the 24-hour food recall is the multiple pass food recall method. And this also gives a reliable data among large population groups. This method assesses diet pattern over a period of time for 3 to 5 days, during which the respondent is asked to recall and describe all the food and drink consumed. For example, the 3-day recall will prompt the respondents to recall the food intake during the previous day, the day before, and the earlier day before. The multiple pass refers to the steps involved during the interview to allow revisiting and checking of the dietary intake. In the first pass, a quick list of foods consumed is obtained. And in the second pass, information about the meal, snacks consumed, including time and place, are recorded. The third pass prompts the foods that may have been forgotten. Finally, a review of the record and further details of the foods consumed and the portion sizes are completed. The merits are there is an improved precision in this method when compared to the earlier method 24-hour recall. It gives a more reliable data and it is suitable for large scale surveys and can be administered over other modes of communication such as telephone. There are also demerits for this method too. There are possibilities of under or overestimation of portion sizes, and this may result in bias while recording the foods, and it is memory dependent. Next, the simplest quantitative method is the food frequency questionnaire, and this consists of a list of foods and a selection of options relating to the frequency of consumption of each of the foods listed in the questionnaire. For example, number of times per day or daily, weekly, monthly, not at all. Food frequency questionnaires are designed to collect dietary information from large number of individuals and are normally self-administered and therefore aim to capture the habitual food intake of the respondents. The length of the food list varies depending on the nutrients or foods of the interest of the population groups. If a range of different nutrients and energy values are required, the list of foods may be more again. The recent food frequency questionnaires also attempt to collect information about the portion size in addition to the frequency of consumption. These may be referred to as semi-quantitative food frequency questionnaire. Although there are difficulties implicit in calculating the absolute nutrient intake of individuals from this food frequency questionnaire, they are also useful for gathering information on groups of individuals as well for looking at habitual intake of the range of foods available in the society. The merits of the food frequency questionnaire are it has less respondent burden and it is suitable for large scale surveys, can be completed by self and can be administered over other modes of communication such as telephones and mails. The demerits of this method are estimation of portion sizes becomes difficult later in the calculation. Possible over-reporting of healthy foods such as fruits and vegetables and requires validation of the data in relation to the reference method. Okay, now let us go on to the next method, weighed food records. As the name implies, the weighed food record is otherwise termed as duplicate food collection and is the most precise method for estimating the food and nutrient intake of individuals. This involves weighing each and every item of food and drink prior to the consumption by the respondent. A detailed description of the food and its weight is recorded in a specially designed booklet. Usually, a space is left to record any leftovers so that the precise weight of the food eaten can be calculated later. Weight records can be kept for 3, 4, 5, or even 7 days, depending upon the circumstance. The 7-day weight record has often been taken as a gold standard against which less detailed and demanding methods can be compared later. In general, the procedure for measuring energy and nutrient intake involves a report of all the weighed foods consumed by an individual, identification of the foods such that an appropriate item can be chosen from standard food tables, quantification of the portion size of each food item, and finally to derive the nutrient content of the foods consumed. The merits of the weighed food records are these. These are the widely used method and are reliable data for data collection. Accuracy of portion sizes are also possible. The demerits of this method is they are a highly respondent burden method. There are possibilities of misreporting by the respondents. It is an expensive method too, and also the food composition data is limited. The next quantitative method is estimated food records. This is similar to the weighed food record which we saw it earlier, except that the quantification of the food and drink is estimated rather than it is weighed. The estimation is carried out using the household measures such as cups or spoons or food photographs or food models. This is the difference between the weighed food record and the estimated food record. The estimates are then converted into weights and then used to calculate food and nutrient intake. The merits of this estimated food records are these are the widely used methods in community studies and there is a lower respondent burden than the earlier method, weighed food record. The demerits are it is difficult to estimate the portion sizes when a community is very large. There are possibilities of misreporting by the respondent and this method is also expensive and it needs a high degree of respondent cooperation. Let us now move on to the study about next method, diet history. The dietary history method estimates the food intake of individuals over a relatively long period lasting several weeks or even months. The diet history questionnaire, which is termed as DHQ in capitals, is similar to the food frequency questionnaire and consists of necessary and optimum food items and includes both portion size and dietary supplement questions. It takes a longer time to complete and was designed based on the cognitive research findings to be easy to use. The dietary history provides reasonable nutrient estimates and more studies have been conducted to assess its validity. The merits of this method are there is ability to detect special changes, there is ability to detect seasonal changes and to obtain data on all nutrients and to correlate well with the biochemical measures. The demerits of this method are it is a lengthy interview process and it is difficult and is an expensive method in coding of the data after it is gathered. Next is the household food survey. This survey aims to collect information about dietary intake at the household level. Some market research surveys relating to food purchase trends are conducted at the household level used such as household food surveys. merits of this household food survey is it is suitable for large scale surveys and are designed for monitoring diet trends at the population levels, especially when a new food is introduced in the market. The demerits are the data are not collected at the individual level but includes a household consumption data. Let us now learn about the next method, dietary score method. This method involves assigning an arbitrary score to the foods on the basis of its nutrient content. The consumption of this particular food by an individual is estimated through the frequency method. For example, grading of foods is done according to the major source of a specific nutrient. In case of vitamin A, the code for green leafy vegetables, which are good sources, excellent sources of vitamin A, is coded 3, egg is 2, and milk is 1, depending upon the nutrient content. The frequency of consumption of foods, the total score, and percentages are then calculated. The values of this qualitative assessment method is enhanced when combined with the quantitative methods that we have studied earlier for the nutritional assessment. The next method is duplicate sample method. In this, the individual is required to keep in a separate plate a duplicate sample of the meal he or she has eaten during the day. The samples are then sent to the laboratory for chemical analysis. It is the more accurate method of all the other methods available. It is costly and needs a good laboratory support. So far, we have seen about the various quantitative methods used for nutritional assessment. Now, let's look into the qualitative methods. Qualitative methods include the examination of people's beliefs, perceptions, and behavior. The data collection helps to collect the data faster and provides an up-to-date information. Qualitative methods can also be used to complement the quantitative methods. They are particularly useful when an investigator knows little about the subjects being investigated. For example, a group's perception or beliefs regarding the certain foods. Qualitative methods also play confirmatory and elucidating roles as well as add depth, substance, and a meaning to the quantitative results. Qualitative methods helps to identify specific health food options for government subsidy and support, distinguish foods more suitable for food fortification, inform decisions on whether to tax or forbid imports or sales of unhealthy foods at the national, regional, local or institutional levels. Guide the development and format of food labeling so that it is culturally appropriate and understandable by the community. Pinpoint the most inappropriate marketing tactics and effective controls that could be implemented. Suggest the format and content of national or regional campaigns to improve the diet, and finally to indicate alterations to existing food assistance programs and how they are implemented as ways to improve the food security of the country. For example, dispersals twice a month rather than once a month. Now, let us learn about the common qualitative methods adopted for nutritional assessment. The most common qualitative methods comprise in-depth interviewing, direct observation, participant observation, and focus group discussions. Now, let us look into these methods in depth. The first method is in-depth interviewing. As the name implies, this is a type of exploratory dialogue between the interviewer and the informant, where the informant is seen as teaching the interviewer about their cultural setting. This method is useful for identifying the actual dietary practices that exist among the population and also for delineating the facilitators and barriers to recommended practices such as in young child feeding. Now, the next method is direct observations. The direct observation technique entails the recording of actual dietary patterns, the food intake, as opposed to the reported or recalled food intake. This method is particularly useful in documenting the food intake among the various population groups. Direct observations also allow going beyond the selective perceptions of others and experiencing the setting firsthand, thereby allowing the more relevant policies and plans to be designed. The next method is participant observation method. This involves the observer residing in the community of interest for an extended period of time and, as the name implies, participating in the local activities too. In this way, the investigator learns about the local setting through an extended and informal contact with the community members. By becoming part of the group, the investigator is more likely to see events and from the perspective of the insider. In addition, by observing operations and activities directly within the setting, researchers gain a better understanding of the context and process of activities. Behavioral observations are very useful for examining infant and young child feeding practices. Next, focus group discussions. This method involves using groups and group processes to generate the discussion on a given topic of interest. The aim of this method is to discuss and explore the issues rather than to simply describe or explain. This method allows to reach deeper levels of meaning through the use of the respondents' own words and their modes of expression. The process of local people discussing a topic in their own terms with one another will yield insights and permit natural discourse that would not be available using a standard one-to-one interviewing. This method is exceptionally valuable for obtaining information from children and from individuals who are not highly literate. So far, we have seen the commonly used quantitative and qualitative methods of diet surveys for nutritional assessment. Apart from this, there are also other diet surveys methods useful at the community and national levels. The first one is food balance sheet, termed as FBS. A food balance sheet presents a comprehensive picture of the pattern of a country's food supply during a specified reference period. The food balance sheet shows for each food item the availability of each primary commodity for human consumption, which corresponds to the sources of supply and its utilization. The total quantity of foodstuffs produced in a country added to the total quantity imported and adjusted to any change in stocks that may have occurred since the beginning of the reference period gives the supply available during that period. On the utilization side, a distinction is made between the quantities exported plus fed to livestock plus used for seeds, losses during storage and transportation, and food supplies available for human consumption. And from this, the per capita supply of each food item available for human consumption is then obtained by dividing the respective quantity by the related data on the population actually partaking in it. Data on the per capita food supplies are expressed in terms of quantity and applying the appropriate food composition factors for all primary and processed products, and also in terms of dietary energy value, protein and fat content. The data from the food balance sheets tells us the food available at the national level or regional level and not the food actually consumed by the people. Next is the inventory method. This is otherwise termed as food list method. This method is often employed in institutions, in hostels, army barracks, where a homogeneous group of people take their meals from a common kitchen. In this method, the amounts of foodstuffs issued in the kitchen as per the records maintained are taken for computation of the food consumption. This method can also be used for assessing the food consumption at household level, provided the respondent maintains a regular record of the foods used. The recording of stocks is done at the beginning at the end of the week to record the food consumption data. The stocks of foods, if any, purchased or discarded during the week are also taken into account. This method, like food balance sheet, provides the estimate of the available data rather than the food actually consumed. These are the different methods for diet surveys which are available for nutritional assessment at various levels. To conclude this module, the best diet surveys gives an approximate estimate of the foods and nutrients consumed, but not the amount absorbed or utilized. Therefore, combination of the nutritional assessment tools is desirable for a holistic nutritional assessment. Hope you enjoyed this module and found useful too. Thank you.